You might think you know Alan Moore, but here are 12 facts you may not have known about the Magician of Northampton. Alan Moore was born November 18, 1953, in Northampton, in England's East Midlands, where he continues to live to this day. He is the writer of some of the most critically acclaimed comics of all time, including Watchmen, From Hell, V for Vendetta, Swamp Thing, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and Supreme, among many others. Moore lived his young life in a poor neighborhood with his parents, his younger brother, and their grandmother. He grew up reading comics and began publishing his own poetry and essays in a fanzine called Embryo as a teen. In 1970, he was expelled from his high school for dealing LSD. Moore's earliest comics work was strips he wrote and drew for local papers, including Anani Mouse and Maxwell the Magic Cat. Soon he focused on writing over drawing and was producing dozens of Future Shocks and Time Twister stories for 2000 AD, the publisher of Judge Dredd. Moore also worked for 2000 AD's main competitor, Marvel UK, producing 5 stories for Doctor Who Weekly magazine, most of which were drawn by David Lloyd, who would later draw V for Vendetta, and 5 stories for Star Wars Monthly, including one drawn by Alan Davis, with whom he would later collaborate on Captain Britain. Following Moore's success with stories such as Marvel Man, DR and Quinch, and The Ballad of Halo Jones, he was hired by DC editor Len Wein to write Saga of the Swamp Thing, making Moore the first British writer to do significant work on American comics. This inspired a British invasion of American comics, with DC soon hiring such British writers as Neil Gaiman, Grant Morrison, and Peter Milligan. On Moore's 40th birthday in 1993, he declared himself to be a practitioner of ceremonial magic, also known as ritual magic, inspired by the work he had done on From Hell. His belief system includes elements of the Kabbalah, the Tarot, the writings of Aleister Crowley, and a snake puppet. Okay, a little more on that last part. Moore's personal deity is Glycon, an ancient Roman snake god whose cult was exposed in the 2nd century as a hoax and the god himself as a puppet. In fact, it is because Glycon is definitely a hoax that Moore worships him, because of his firm belief that the imagination is as powerful as reality. Moore's displeasure and unwillingness to work with publishers Marvel and DC are somewhat notorious, and they have escalated to the point that when Marvel obtained the rights to reprint Moore's landmark work on Marvel Man, Moore's name was removed and he was credited simply as the original writer. Alan Moore is one of the most acclaimed and awarded writers in comics history. In his career, he has won multiple Jack Kirby and Eagle Awards, 7 Harvey Awards, 9 Eisner Awards, a Hugo Award for Watchmen, a World Fantasy Award, 2 International Horror Guild Awards, 2 Bram Stoker Awards, and so many others that there isn't enough time to list them in this video. In addition to his prolific work in comics, Moore has also written the novels Voice of the Fire and The Mirror of Love, dozens of prose stories such as A Hypothetical Lizard, a short film called Jimmy's End, and spoken word performances such as The Birth Call and Snakes and Ladders. In the early 80s, under the stage name of Translucia Baboon, Moore formed the band The Sinister Ducks together with David J. from the goth band Bauhaus. They released a single called March of the Sinister Ducks in 1983, and a recording of the song This Vicious Cabaret from V for Vendetta in 1984. Moore appeared as himself in the 2007 Simpsons episode Husbands and Knives, which also featured appearances by cartoonist Art Spiegelman and Dan Clowes. The episode spoofs the terrible movie adaptations of Moore's comics and aired on Moore's 54th birthday. That's it for this episode of You Think You Know Comics. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Comics Alliance for more comic facts, and check out comicsalliance.com for more comic awesomeness.